morning, everybody. My name is Bobby van der Sluis. I'm a front-end developer at Rabobank. And at Rabobank, my focus is to continuously improve our design system. Today, I would like to talk with you about the road to front-end mastery. What brings us together today is our love for the web platform. And we're all on this personal journey to become a more proficient front-end craftsperson. And it's a great time to work in the web industry. The web platform is an extremely powerful and versatile UI platform with an enormous reach, and there's a high demand for skilled web programmers. But that power, versatility, and reach also come with some serious challenges. And the first one of those challenges is that front-end development is just like a large city. The outskirts is continuously growing, and it's very dynamic. So inside the city itself, things are constantly changing. And as a result, there's a lot of stuff to learn and to keep up with. The second challenge is that during development, you will need to make many small decisions that can majorly impact the quality of the products that we make. So we need to be aware of all these little decision moments and how they impact the overall outcome. And then there's this other challenge. There is no one absolute best way to do things. So if you ask 3 different web developers to mark up a web page design, you likely get 3 different outcomes because we each apply our own interpretation to the assignment. We have our own knowledge and beliefs on what is the right thing to do. And we have personal preferences. Very similar to a group of artists that paint a subject in the Bob Ross painting workshop. It's all pretty, but it's all a little bit different. So how to become a front-end superstar? Well, if you ask me on how to become a great front-end developer, my short answer will be by growing a diverse and balanced skill set over time. So build multiple smaller sandcastles instead of one huge one. And be pragmatic, especially when you just start out. Learn what you need for your day-to-day work, but also focus on learning the foundations really well. So over time, things will start coming together, and you will get a good understanding of the bigger picture. Just like this lady, mixing ketchup and mustard, and have fun while doing it. Enjoy the meal. So what are these foundational skills? To me, there are 6 broad categories of fundamental skills, of which 4 are hard skill areas, also the technology skills, and 2 are soft skill areas, also known as people skills. And I call them the 6 foundational skill pillars, and on these foundations, you can build your front-end career. So let's start with the hard skills. The first pillar is all about core web technologies. And at the heart, you will find HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, the elementals of front-end development. There are multiple languages, each with their own purpose, syntax, concepts. And just make sure to understand when to use which technology and how to work together. And a lot of people perceive HTML and CSS as very simple languages, and with that they overlook some very important things, like understanding which semantics you can add to content, or what you get for free by using HTML elements, like default styling and behaviors, focus management, keyboard shortcuts, and all kinds of accessibility-related information that's passed on to accessibility devices. And I know some very seasoned developers that almost start crying when they start talking about their CSS development experiences. And you all probably know about Eric Meyer's book, CSS, The Definitive Guide. The latest version is about 1,100 pages, so bottom line is that CSS is not that simple. And just like with a wild beast, you should take your time to tame it. Core web technologies are all about understanding web browsers, including the built-in developer tools and browser compatibility, so you know when you can use new platform features. And this rather slow and uncertain, sometimes painful standardization process. Unfortunately, browser makers acknowledge this pain point, and they're now collaborating on what to standardize in an effort they call browser interop. And if you're done with the basics, you can fan out to more advanced APIs or related languages and dive into topics like these, like web components or the Canvas API. And you can keep on fanning out until you eventually reach the outer rings, where you get into really advanced APIs and formats, which some of us may never need for a day job, but it's still good to know what they are and how they work. So to summarize this first foundation or pillar, core web technologies enable us to express ourselves, turning ideas and designs into code. And if we would compare ourselves to artists, we would talk our ability to draw, paint, or sculpt. The second foundational skills pillar is all about understanding all things that contribute to a great user experience. On the one hand, it includes topics that designers and content authors will focus on, like understanding your customer goals and needs, providing them a clear navigation and hierarchy, and visually aesthetic pages that follow brand guidelines with high-quality copy and images. And for front-end developers, it's very important to grasp what designers and content authors intend to achieve, so that we can give relevant feedback and can smoothly translate everything into code. And on the other hand, we need to support an abundance of hardware configurations. So we need to understand what these configurations are and what the design implications could be. For example, by building our products in a responsive or adaptive way, and by making sure that our websites or apps perform well, even on the lowest spec computing devices. And then you got all kinds of people, like all these people on the metro station. Our web interfaces will have to support many different target audiences, so we need to understand who these people are and how they perceive web content. We need to be accessible and inclusive and support people with all kinds of disabilities. We might need to support people from different countries and regions or different languages. And we should consider conforming to user preferences like dark mode or reduced motion. And we often also need to support non-human customers like bots and search engines. So to summarize the second foundational pillar, all that constitutes a great user experience gives us purpose. It will help guide us making decisions that ensure that our customers get a good product. The third foundational skill pillar is about composing software. It's about breaking complex problems down to smaller parts and then compose these smaller solutions together to form your website or application. And on the one hand, it's all about software design and architecture. And this overarches many different topics like functional and object-oriented programming, programming concepts like loose coupling, separation of concerns, don't repeat yourself, or best practices like modularity, single responsibility principle. It includes generic programming design patterns like factory methods, singletons, publish scribe, and also architecture concepts like monoliths or microservices. Software composition should be guided by the things that are important to the organizations that you work for, that you make your products for, like scalability, maintainability, or future-proofing. And we also call these qualitative requirements or non-functional requirements, and they make organizational expectations explicit. And they will help you prioritize and focus your software architecture and design efforts. Software composition is also about creating reusable and high-quality building blocks, which you can package in the design system, for example. So you enable other developers to rapidly build user interfaces that are consistent and on brand. And you can follow the mise en place philosophy here. It's a system that makes large kitchens run very smoothly because all ingredients are prepared ahead of time. So when you receive the order, you just can swiftly serve a high-quality dish to a lot of people. And for creating web interfaces, it could be exactly the same. So to summarize this third foundational pillar, software composition is all about providing structure. So like the second pillar, it's about guiding us to make the right decisions. Only now we focus on software development patterns and best practices, and we look at it from the perspective of the organization we work for and its goals. The next foundational skill pillar is all about front-end tooling. And today we have an explosion of power tools on our hands. And one thing is for sure, we love our tools. just to give an impression of the variety of tools that are available today. And in a larger organization, you will probably use most of these. So we can conclude there's a huge market with tech to support front-end design and development. But today we're in a situation where we have too many solutions for our front-end problems. And this has led to two things. On the positive side, we have a lot of innovation. And on the flip side, it also has led to fragmentation. We as developers are forced to make choices on what we spend our time on, because we simply do not have enough time to learn all of these solutions. And this fragmentation also hurts the process of industry standardization, because it makes matching the demand and supply of skills harder. Now let's zoom out a bit and dive into why we use tools in the first place. We use them because we want to automate mundane tasks or the plumbing for certain applications, stuff you don't want to build yourself. We definitely don't want to reinvent the wheel, because most common problems have already been solved by other smart people. So we reuse existing solutions that have already proven themselves, are very well documented, and we can hire people that already have experience with them. And as a result of all of this, this allows us to focus on our core activities, making great websites and apps for our customers. So where do you start with all these tools when you're new to the industry? Again, I would say, just be very pragmatic. Start with the basics and learn the tools that you need for your day-to-day work. And this includes your favorite code editor, get acquainted with it, a JavaScript runtime, very likely Node.js, a version control system like Git, and the basics of command line scripting. And as a next step, you can take many different pathways. It's all up to you. You can dive into competing tools, compare the different benefits and costs of different tools to find opportunities for potential improvements for the environment that you work in. Or look what real innovations are, because not all of them will be real innovations. And all of this will give you an understanding of the current landscape and a bit of perspective while you diversify your tool skill portfolio. When you are in a situation where you can select new tools, it's always to be a little bit critical and ask the following question. Who does it benefit when we add this tool? Is it your customers to improve the user experience? Is it your organization to fulfill some quality requirements? Or is it just for you as a developer to get a nicer experience? And to me, the important for tooling goes top-down. So for example, the user experience should never be trumped by developer experience, should never hurt it. So this question can guide you in making decisions on which tools to use and which tools not to add. Because a lot of things can go wrong when we select our tools, and here are my top 4 examples. We can put a solution before the problem, have this nice stack to start with, and then it's like, oh, give me a project, I'll make it with my favorite stack. Or we focus way too much on developer benefits, just only look at our own benefits. We might not consider hidden cost, or just ignore simplicity. And one main reason is that there's all these issues that tools, even open source ones, are never really free. They always cost something when you add them. You will at least have to keep them up to date and have to keep your code up to date, which costs time. But tooling can also lead to slower development, for example, because of an overly complex environment with long build times, or even a bad runtime performance or accessibility, a bad user experience. And we usually only figure out these hidden costs along the way when we got these tools already in place. So it's better to be smart about this before you start introducing new tools. And we can get really invested in our tools, but in the end of the day, they're just a means to an end. And we tend to like hip and new things because they're exciting, but they're not always real innovations. And if you look at the past, we can see that tools will come and go. And we have this museum full of tools that went the way of the dodo. And just your hands up, who remembers jQuery? I had to say the word jQuery. Flash, Backbone, Subversion, version control. And we all know AngularJS, right? We know where that went. Yeah. Core web technologies are elemental gods, and tools are just the mortal heroes of the day. Just remember that. To summarize this fourth foundational pillar, tooling is all about productivity. Tools allow us to focus on our core activities and enable team collaboration. And this concludes our section on foundational technology skills. Now let's dive into the two soft skill categories, because when you aim to become a great front-end professional, people skills are not optional. The fifth foundational skill pillar is about soft skills that each craftsperson should acquire, where craftsmanship is the skill in manually making great, high-quality products. Craftsmanship includes training specific artisan skills, like attention to details and precision, to deliver pixel-perfect and consistent work, or design sensitivity, so you understand the perspective and workflow of a designer, or the intent of a design. It's about understanding how small decisions affect the overall end result, so not just focusing on the details, but also zooming out and understanding what you do. And being comfortable figuring things out as a part of the process. It's about being pragmatic, a pragmatic learner. While having a general interest into how things work and what contributes to a high-quality product. But it's also about something else. It's about also getting comfortable with all kinds of ideas and things that you will learn by doing and experimenting. Again, you be pragmatic. That you are in an environment that constantly expands and changes. And that you're never really done learning and improving. And that you're part of a community where sharing ideas and code is commonplace. So to summarize the fifth foundational pillar, craftsmanship is all about training your inner artisan. It's about getting into the right habits and teaching yourself a certain way of working and thinking. The sixth and final foundational skill category is about collaboration. To effectively work in teams and with other disciplines, because we usually don't work alone or in a vacuum. So it's important to be a team player, to use our skills and efforts to help the team reach shared goals, knowing that together we can achieve more than we could on our own. Clear and concise communication is vital for collaboration, and this includes things like active listening, sharing information, providing constructive feedback. And it includes empathy. This is all about considering the perspectives, emotions, and needs of the people that you work with. And that you should be open to different ideas and approaches and willing to adapt your way of working if necessary. And last but not least, building trust is important. So team members can rely on each other to do the right thing. Like this little island in the middle of this picture that's connected by bridges, we naturally find ourselves in the midst of multiple disciplines. And this is a huge opportunity, because collaborating with other disciplines is literally about building bridges. Improved collaborations usually result in better products and a more fun process to create them. And it will allow you to have more influence on decision making and deliver more impactful work. So to summarize the sixth and foundational pillar, collaboration skills are all about your effectiveness inside and across teams. They enable you to grow your organizational impact. Okay, let's talk about the career ladder. When you start your career, you will follow quite a paved path. It's from junior to mid-year to senior, where your seniority is often measured by the relevant work experience in years. And as you grow on this career ladder, more things will be expected from you, like more skills or delivering more value, which means more responsibilities, ownership, things to manage, people to facilitate. Just be aware that when your career advances, your focus will change, and you will change. And you will likely spend less time programming, because you will do a whole lot of other things that are also important to the company that you work for. Seniority also means opening up, that new avenues get open to you, providing you the opportunity to grow into your career into different directions, maybe not directions that you initially anticipated, where you could shift your focus to product management or architecture, tech management, managing and facilitating people and teams, or have a technical leadership role within a team while still being a developer with a staff or a principal engineer role. And once you become an expert in a certain area, a lot of people start regarding you as an expert in a lot of things. And with this will come some growing awareness that you are very proficient in certain areas and a little bit less in others, which can lead to the imposter syndrome, where you feel a little bit like a fraud. And last year on Frontmania, Kyle Simpson gave a very nice talk about this. It was called Confessions of an Imposter. And he said, be honest about how you feel and confident that you will figure things out along the way. Again, we are pragmatists and be very pragmatic in how we deal with that. So just consider this to be a part of your front-end journey. It's just another thing to get comfortable with. Now let's talk about mastery, because that's the title of the presentation, right, as well, The Road to Mastery. One of the most famous quotes about mastery is from Stephen McCraney. He said, "A master has failed more times than the beginner has even tried," indicating that you have to practice to become a master. So what does mastery really entail? A high level of skill or expertise acquired over an extended period of time. It's not really achieved overnight. It's about recognition, that you're being acknowledged by peers at work or from the community. It includes humility, because also masters know that they have never really made it. They're never really there. Another famous quote, in a slightly adapted and more modern version, "A master uses his eyes and ears more than both his hands," meaning that someone who is really skilled in a particular area knows what to look for or listen for before leaping into action. So other aspects of mastery are planning and thinking before action. It's about comprehension and intuition, so quickly recognizing patterns and making connections. And this usually comes with experience over time. It's about mentorship, providing knowledge and guidance to people that aspire to become masters one day themselves. Just like in Star Wars, right? You always got the master and the student. And it's about pushing boundaries, the urge to keep on innovating and advance your domain. And the foundations of front-end mastery are building a balanced skill set over time. It's just like bodybuilding. You train all your muscle groups every week to evenly grow your entire body, and one day you are this kick-ass muscle person. You just needed this whole runway up to it. And you know that if you would only train your upper body, people will start laughing at your skinny legs, right? So it's the same for front-end development. The front-end journey is one of continuous learning. You will never be done learning and growing. And my advice is to grow a balanced skill set over time with both soft skills and hard skills. And if mastery is your ambition, make sure that you understand that it takes practice and time to really become proficient. But above all, have fun and enjoy your journey, because it's at least as important as reaching your goals. Life is a journey to be experienced, not a destination to be reached, which I believe is also true about the front-end journey in the quest for mastery. In the end, it's the journey that will determine the person you become along the way, the skills you acquire, the connections you make, and the inner growth that takes place. And that was it. I hope you liked my presentation. Thank you for listening.